Alright, hey guys, here today I'm going to be showing you how to do a digital clock using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So here I'll be showing you it's a code that it'll be able to work with any screen size, whether it be phone, iPad, tablet, PC, huge screen TV. It'll be working, and I'll show you exactly how to do it with your own picture background, which I know we all love to be able to customize those things in our code. So as you can see, I've already created a main folder called clock1, and I'll just be holding all my files here from my HTML, CSS, and JavaScript files. So today we'll just be starting with the HTML code, and I'm just going to go ahead and name it clock.html. So first off, we always want to start off with having the doc type HTML. We want to be able to show that and display it. We need that in every single HTML. And then since we're going to be coding in English, we're going to want to set the lang tag to en inside the HTML bracket tags. So once we have that finished, we're going to go ahead and go into the next actual more code. We're going to go ahead and create the head tag, and inside the head tag we're going to create and show everybody how we're going to hold the actual information inside the HTML browser. So every single HTML browser website, it uses the UTF-8 format most of the time, and that's what we're going to be using today under the meta charset tag. And for meta, we also have a closing tag, but we'll show you do that in a second. So for the next meta, we'll go ahead and get that done right now. We'll show you that it is HTTP equiv, so that it adjust to the screen you have, and more specifically to the screen that I'm using right now. As you can see, it's the IE Edge, which is the Internet Explorer Edge that I'm using right now in the current PC. And we're going to close that up, and then the next meta we are using is the type of format that we're using. It's going to be the viewport, and we're going to make sure that we set the content to be the width device and the height of the device, so that it goes fully and it fits perfectly to the screen that we're using. That's why it's 1:1 initial scale. So next we're going to be adding one more meta tag, which will be the last one. And this one, it is actually going to be called the meta tag, but it'll be holding the information that we hold up there. Right there you can see it says digital clock. It's the title tag, and so we put it as digital clock, and then when I run it, a new one, it's a blank page because we just started and there's no actual code, but it says digital clock up there. So there you go. And we'll now get into the actual code that'll set up the whole website and make it look nice and neat how it is right there in the final product. So once we have that done, we're going to go ahead and be done with the whole head family set. And we're going to now go into the body. So we're going to go ahead and set the body tag. Of course, there's the opening and closing tags. As you can see, I do right here. There you go. Give yourself some room so you have room to code. And then we're going to create a div with the class of clock, because all of the div is going to be holding all of the code that we hold inside the clock, whether it be the minutes, hours, seconds, everything. It's going to hold everything that we use. So we're going to create another div to hold individual elements from the clock. So to start, we're going to start off with the hour, and we're going to create a span so that with the ID of hour, and then 00, so that we know that it's the hour div, and then we can customize the number later on, as well as the text, because as you can see, it says hours right there. So we want to be able to know which time we're telling. So 00 hours, and then we set that. And if we go ahead and run it, there you see it's just 00 hours, because that's the only code we've added. Next, we're going to do another div, but this time, maybe you can guess what it is. It is actually going to be for the minutes. We're going to create a span with the ID of minutes, and put the number 00. And then after we do that, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to create a class of text and create the minutes so that we can identify it. And we can go ahead and edit these classes and minutes later on in the CSS. So we saved it, and there you go. Hours and minutes are now displaying. So next, yes, we are going to be doing a div class, but this time with the idea of seconds. Yes, there you go. Perfect. Getting a hang of it. So ID is going to be seconds, and then 0, 0 again, and then the class of text, and then seconds. So now we're all done with that portion of the clock, and we'll go ahead and save it again. So I'm going to show you how it looks. Save, go back to the tab. There you go. Minutes, hours, seconds, all in a row right there in the column. And lastly, I do have the AM PM showing right there on my screen, so we'll go ahead and add that right now as well. It's not exactly necessary, but you can add it, and it's useful if you don't want to be guessing whether it's night or day. And while I'm just adding AM, I'll show you in the JavaScript how we're going to be switching it to AM and PM. So now we'll go ahead and then just show you how it looks. There you go. It's all in a single column. It's right in the line, right on the edge of the browser, but I'll be showing you in the CSS how to change it all. So now we're done with the HTML. We're going to get into the CSS part. I'm just going to name it clock.css. And here we go. When you create a CSS, you want to be able to refer it and reference it inside of your HTML so that the HTML knows what CSS you are communicating with. And when you do this, you're going to want to go back to the head and you're going to create a link with the relationship of style sheet, because C, style sheet. And then with the href, you're going to go ahead and create the clock.css, because that's the file that you're referring to, the clock.css. And make sure you have these in the same folder so that you don't have to add more code inside the href. So there we go. Now we have it connected, and now we'll be showing you how to make it with these, more confirmed and conform to the center of the page of the HTML and make it, the looks that it has, all the designs. So first I'm going to create a body tag, and to start I'm going to create the margin to be 0 so that there's no spaces in between. As you can see, it's lined up against the wall. And you can choose whichever font family you want, but for this I'm just going to be choosing the sans serif. It's plain, it looks clean, and it does the job for whatever this clock. You could do whichever one, of course it's up to you. And for the display setting, you want to create a flex so that you can move it to where you want inside the HTML box inside the browser, and I'll show you exactly what it does once we get more code in there. So since we now have the flex display, we can go ahead and change the flex direction, and this time you can see it's right there in the middle. We're going to go ahead and be changing that. So now it's going to be a column, and while I may not do a change yet, we'll be seeing the changes later on once we get the items aligned. So align items, we're going to be creating the center. So now look at right there, right in the center. It's in the location of how we want to get in the final product. And the 100 VH is 100 view height. And for this, it's setting it to the 100%. So at the top of the page, but we'll be changing that in a second when we go to change the actual box, the size that we have in there. So justify content, here we are, we're going to be changing it to be right in the dead center of the whole page. So there you go. Now you can see it's starting to line up with the final code, and everything's starting to fall into position. Okay, so here you go. As we can see that there's a picture in the background, and I've added that picture to the folder, which is sunset3.png. And in order to be able to add that picture, we want to go ahead and create a tag that is the background image tag, or the background tag, and we're going to create a URL. And since it's already inside that specific folder, we put ./sunset.png. Now you can see that the text has kind of disappeared a little bit, but it's alright. We'll get into how to fix it and make it more visible in a second. And so that the image covers the whole background, we go ahead and went background size cover so that we can see the whole image and it's not zoomed into a specific part. And so now that you see that, we went overflow hidden. It just hides a little bit of the overflow when it comes to different screen sizes, so it's not crazy looking. There you go. So now we're finished with the body tag. We'll go ahead and get into each individual, this time with the ID of clock. we're going to go ahead and do display flex for the clock. Let me go ahead and move this around so I can show you guys how I'm moving it. There you go. There you go. Now all the elements are in a row, and rather than being in the column how they were, they're getting more and more towards the effect that we wanted to have at the beginning. So now we're going to go ahead and do clock, and since we're doing all the divs inside the clock, we're going to go ahead and do dot clock and then div. So we're going to go ahead and show you how to set it so that they're not as close as you see they are right now. 5 pixels, you see it added a little bit of distance, but not too much, but just enough. So next, we're going to change the position of each of the elements so that they adjust according to your phone size or the screen, whatever it may be. While it may not change there, you see here it is staying right in the center, and no matter what the screen, I'm changing it. Finally, we're going to get into each individual ID of each tag, each class. So here we go. We're going to go with the class of clock, but this time we're going to be doing the span tags. So it's going to be changing each individual one, hours, minutes, seconds. So to start, we're going to go ahead and have a width of 100 pixels. While it might not be noticeable right there, it does do a change when it comes to changing each screen. And the height 80 pixels, it'll be creating this box that you can't exactly tell right now, but it's right there in the background, and it'll show up when we start changing more of the elements. So next, we're going to create a background so that, as you can see, the font, it's a little bit blends in with the background, and you can change this to whichever one you want, any color you want. It's very customizable depending on your background image and whatever it may be. For this one, I feel as purple, bluish. It works well, and it fits nice with a nice sunset in the background, and it just looks nice. But as you can see, it does pop a little bit too much, so I'm going to be changing the opacity to be at 0.75, so it has a little bit of a blend into it. It's not as prominent as it was before. There you go. And then lastly, I'm going to go ahead and align items to the center so that they are right there and in the middle of it, how we were changing it beforehand. Okay, so as you can see, we did all of that, but we also want to change the color of the font itself, not just the black color it is right now. We want to change it so that it does stand a little bit. And there you go, it's white, it's more visible behind the purple, and it's popping out how we want it to. We also want to have a display flex here as well so that the numbers go back into a column inside each individual flex. So now that they're there, each individual span has a column, and the numbers and text are separately. And then we're going to go ahead and center it so that it's dead center and just looks more clear. And now for the font size, we're going to go ahead and change it to 50 pixels. While it does look messy and screwed up right now, I'll show you how to fix it in a little second. And then the text shadow, of course not necessary, but adding this little text shadow, it does indeed add a little bit of space, and it's very helpful, and it adds a little bit of character to it, you could say. So finally, now that we've got all of those, each individual div elements and span elements, we're going to go to the IDs. So for this, the classes, clock class and text class. So for the text, we don't want it to go past the height of 20 pixels, so we're going to have it at 20 pixels. And then the font size, we want to make it a lot smaller because as you see, they're overlapping. There you go. It's tiny now, but it does the job, and you don't want it to be crazy big because the information we want is the numbers. We're not telling time off of the letters. And then, so we're going to transform the text so that it doesn't matter how you wrote it, every single letter is going to be uppercase and it stands out. And then you can see the letters are a little bit squishy just due to the font family. We'll just add a little bit of space to them so that you can see exactly what it is. See a little bit much. It's not too much, not too little. 1 to 2 pixels will do the job. So finally, we do want to be able to tell what the hours, minutes, seconds are, so we're going to add a color to it. And this color, we're going to add a little pink. It looks nice. I feel like a sunset having blue and pink and purple. It really stands out and it just looks and fits together well. Next, we're going to go ahead and go to the clock ID for the AM PM. And as you can see, it's pretty large right now. We don't need it to be that large, so we want to go ahead and line it up, the AM sign to be right there at the bottom and in line with the text of the seconds, hours, and minutes. So as you see, we did that. Now we want to change the position so that it's not too high or too low. We're going to go ahead and align it to absolute so it fits well, and there you go. The numbers moved as well, but the AM PM is what we're really looking at. So now we're going to change the width of 60 pixels, so it's not as large as the numbers, because at the end of the day we know what time it is. If you look outside, night or day, we can easily tell that. And the height to 30 pixels, so it's of course being shrunken and it's not huge. So now we're going to change the font size now to fit inside that little box, and 25 pixels should be enough. There you go. Of course, you could do this however you want, whatever legibility you want it to be. And we don't want it to be the same background color as well. We want to have a little bit of some difference within the colors, and so we changed it to a little blue violet. So as you see, we're now done with the CSS and everything is working and functioning. So now I'm going to go ahead and show you how to do all the JavaScript so that the clock is moving and everything. But first, just like the CSS, we have to connect the JavaScript to the main HTML code, and it refers to it. But for JavaScript, we want to go ahead and have a JavaScript tag with the source src of the name of the JavaScript. For ours, it's clock.js. It's in the same exact folder. We could just put clock.js. So let's get into it. The first line of code we're going to create a few constants, all of them being for the hours, seconds, and minutes. As you can see, it's constant hour time, and then by the ID, which we set to be hours. There you go, easy peasy. And we're just going to do one of these hour times, minute time for each single element. So as you can see, minute time, and then we get it by the document.get element by ID, which of course is going to be minutes. And we just repeat that for each single element. There you go. So if you have the time, if you're liking the video and you like what you're doing, please just go ahead and leave a like, comment, whatever, subscribe. Thank you. Okay, so next we're going to want to get into the actual function building of this code. We're going to name the function time change, just so that it's an easy name to remember and you won't forget the time change function that you're referring to. We're going to go ahead and let h equal new date, and h standing for hour, of course. We're going to get the hours of the current device that you're on with the date get hours function. So we have h, and now we're going to go ahead and do the same thing for minutes. But this time, instead of get hours, we're going to go ahead and get minutes, of course. And then same thing for seconds. New date dot get seconds. There you go. And I did say we're going to do something for the AM PM code that I referred to earlier. And for this, we're going to be using a if function inside here. With if h is past 12, of course, this date uses military time, so it goes up to 24. So we'll be go ahead, if it's past 24, which is 13 to 24, it'll go ahead and change the h and it'll minus 12 so that it's to standard time that we use here in the States and most countries. So if it's past 12, we're going to know it's PM, and that's how we'll be able to change from 12 to 1 p.m. rather than 12 to 13 p.m. So now we're going to go ahead and do the code so that the code actually changes when we do it. Hour time.inner text, so it's going to be selecting that specific hours, and we're going to set it to h for the time of your device. So there you go. And just so you can see, I'm going to go ahead and call a function. There you go. It's 11 o'clock and the hour is 11. There you go. First one done. Now this time we're going to do the minutes. Same thing as the the hour. There you go, 11:26, 11:26. Now second time, same thing. Enter text equals s, of course. Save, and there you go. As you see, the function is not moving right now because we haven't made a call and a reference to it inside our function. So there's no looping time over and over and over, which we need to do. And of course set the AM PM. So that we can have this code going over and over, I'm going to go ahead and just let you guys know right here. This method that we have right here, it's setting it so that the code doesn't stop running and it keeps on looping and has a reference to itself inside itself. So we're going to go ahead and set the time to be every single millisecond, sorry. It'll go ahead and run the function and it'll go ahead and update every single 1 second or 1,000 milliseconds. So in here, we're going to make a call to time change, which I told you guys earlier, 1,000. There you go. We'll go ahead and save it. Boom. There you go. The code is now going to be running over and over, and that's it. So now you have your digital clock. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you guys would leave a like, subscribe, and comment if you want, and tune in for the new videos. I'll be posting more and helping you guys code along your way. Thank you.